Welcome, changelings and love buckets, to my hive. This is the room where I film my videos, and these are the switches that control the lighting. Bunch of minecarts. Hey Herb. Herb was a zombie, but I cured him, and now he does leather work for the hive. My glorious queen. This is the front door. I'll be doing a tour of the place in more detail when I go to do the SoFurry tour, but for now, I'd like to focus on one particular piece of changeling resin. Any guesses to what this thing does? Well, a few players caught a glimpse of it and tried to rebuild it, so I figured it was time to make a video about it. Just have to sneak downstairs and take a peek. There it is. Quite the block. Only cleared a few deserts to make this. It was totally worth it. Now, on our server, you can harvest spawners, so for those playing purely vanilla, this may not be the build for you. For those that can, however, this can be used with fists, looting, or just let the water drown them. Anyway, pop a few minecarts in, and out come shulkers, ready for the harvesting. Now, as you can see, our server has auto pickup, so the hoppers are less needed now than they were before, but either way, it's a good idea to have the hoppers in. Love how well this works. Just stacks them up, and eventually they drown. Ta-da! Alright, so now that you've seen it work, let's see how it was actually built. I love using slime blocks instead of scaffolding. It's an old habit and hard to switch from. They work so well. Okay, enough messing around, let's get to building. Now, we use walls for most of the inside so that the shulkers won't mount to them. We'll be using rails to pick up the shulkers, and for some reason, only shulkers mounted to the ground next to the rail will actually get into the minecart. Now, the original build was made in solid glass, but we can try using buttons on this one just to see if we can make it cheaper. No guarantee that'll work, but we can do a little science. This is also a super flat world and not on the server, so things might be a little different with that as well. It's important to put the tracks down this way so that they don't connect to the other side. I've had problems with it breaking and connecting the wrong way over that block. Now we put this wall here in the corner because the minecart will pick up from the inside of a corner rail, but it will not pick up from the outside of a corner rail. Wall scan. Now, you don't have to make a pathway around the outside, but I like to see what's happening without having to crawl into the line of fire. So that's what this little section's for. If you want, you can just make it solid glass or buttons out here. Now, I'm going to match this one to the original one I built. But the spacing here is not entirely critical. If you want the water column to be taller, since the taller the water column, the taller the stack can be before the system gets crowded. If the minecarts fill up and bounce back into the farm, you won't be happy. And one to mark the end of the water column. This can be a wall here or glass. I think I had glass. Yeah, it was glass here. It doesn't really matter. Alright. I'm putting glass here to show where the glass cube starts. And in general, you have to fill this entire area with glass, wherever they have the possibility to teleport to. Yes, I skip a spot right here. But don't worry, it will come back to haunt me. They always will. Finish putting some glass around here. There we go. Bottom layer is finished. So we'll go in here. I'm putting slime blocks in place of where the spawners will be because they're very fast to remove, which will be key in survival for getting in and out quickly when placing the spawners. Start setting up the dispensing area. A couple of iron trapdoors. mostly for clearance. You could use half slabs there too. And again, using walls to prevent shulkers from sticking to them. Also use half slabs on the middle and top layer to prevent them from sticking upside down anywhere. Now, I built the first one in survival all alone, so I'm going to rebuild this one without using fly either. Now, in the one you saw, I used glass blocks down the middle. And I'm just going to use slabs on this one because it really doesn't matter. And it'll allow us to move around in the bottom section easier. Now, this farm is made to support 5 spawners, but you could use it with 1 or less, any number up to 5. You could probably cram 9 in there, but surviving to do so might get tricky in survival. Now we just fill in the rest with half slabs. Fill these in. I'm missing something here. Well, here's the dispenser. Place a dispenser for sending out minecarts automatically. The first version just had a fence, and I reached through to place the minecarts. This allows us to automatically send minecarts every time one gets caught in the trap. Use solid corners on this one because we're not making a walkway for peeking in. And put down the rails. Make sure they're all powered. And where the glass block is, there should be a redstone block, but it can get in the way of the minecart sometimes, so we'll just move it back one. Okay. Put the walls in the corners, like on the bottom. One final look, and then we close it up. Oh, right. We could have a problem here, so put slab. It should grab a shulker. Now I'm putting glass here, but I believe in the other build it was a wall. But either one should work. I'm not sure if the new version lets them stick to the sides of slabs, so we'll just do it like this, just in case. Those blocks probably should be walls, though. Alright, now it's time to close it up. And we'll do a solid block wall this time, so that there's no cracks for them to shoot their bullets out of. Oops. Then we use top slabs to keep them from sticking to the ceiling. Now, you can put the slabs across the entire thing, but I'm going to put glass blocks here in the middle so that you can see down. Could also be a handy way of placing the spawners. Rather than having to climb down and put them in while inside the machine. Oh, pro gamer here. Ta-da. Again, proving this can be made without creative, providing you can get a spawner cage. Now I'll make one of these a redstone block in the future. And again, this can go further back if you want a taller kill tower. Further back you set this, the more minecarts can stack up before you get a jam. Of course, that also means you'll be filling more of the area with buttons or glass, or whatever you use to keep them from teleporting. Now I use a flowing block of water here, just in case some of the drops float up. They will hit the top and flow backwards into the hopper chain. This is a useful design for many other farms as well. grab our bucket of water. And you'll see how the one block of flowing water makes the 2 blocks flow. Now we set up the automatic minecart launcher. And this will send the next cart when one of them makes it to the stack. Now, I should have put that tripwire on a solid block, not a glass block, but I'll come back up and fix that later. Tripwire hooks power the block that they're on and the block below it, but they don't work if they're sitting on a glass block. Here's that redstone block I mentioned earlier. Now, we want to power the block next to the dispenser, not the dispenser itself, since powering the dispenser would power the trapdoor that we put on the other side and possibly break the minecart tracks. So let's throw a red button on it and give the system a test. Now this cart will end up stuck, but that's okay, because it should keep all the following carts from getting stuck. Didn't line up right, but it should still do the job. One more test. There we have a working system. Now we can add a couple of hoppers here to increase the minecart storage. Of course, you don't want to use more than you can stack, or the carts will bounce, and you'll be going into the danger area to unclog things. We wire this up to the tripwire, making sure to use solid blocks anywhere that there is a step up, since redstone wire doesn't like glass stairs. Never has. Using glass, it's easy to test redstone circuits. It does not work, so we break that, make that a solid block, and we should be good to go. There we go. Now we'll upgrade this one more from the one you saw before. We'll put some fence gates here to make a door. I usually just mine through the walls on mine, but doors make things easier. Get this ready for the spawners and take a last look inside here now that it's finished. In case anybody's trying to replicate this. should have put a wall under that glass block right there, but that should all have been walls anyway. Minecart should still grab them though. Now I'm going to fill this in just like the original farm. This would actually continue as solid glass all the way out to the border, but again we're going to try to cheat and use buttons this time. You could use fences, you could use fence gates. Most of that kind of thing should stop a shulker from teleporting into the block. I don't think string stops them for some reason. I know string does not stop mobs from spawning in a block for some reason. Same thing with spider webs. Now you could use solid blocks, but glass makes it easier to see if there's air spaces, or if a shulker manages to get somewhere they aren't supposed to be. You could probably also build this in the void in the end, as long as you cover it in slabs and walls on the outside to keep them from sticking on the outside. I cannot tell you again how important it is to make sure every block has something in it. If you miss one, you'll know it fast enough once you place the spawners. Finish this up here. Couple more in here. And make sure all the buttons on the top of this pathway is filled in. This could actually be a very interesting build to actually build in the end. And ready to have a button placing montage. There, and I decided there was no point in the outer wall halfway through, and I have no shame in doing something in the middle if I see it's wrong, so that's what I did. Now, the size of this thing is 16 blocks from anywhere that the shulkers could be, since they cannot teleport further than 16 blocks. Keep that in mind when expanding or modifying it. Okay, time for the spawners. Now, in retrospect, you should probably activate them from the furthest point and make your way to the exit. But since I was in creative for the walkthrough, I may have totally done it backwards. Please don't make this mistake. Or even place the spawners from the roof instead. You can also place the spawners and then use the mob on them. Alright, now we just put in a few minecarts and we're ready to go. Start with 6 should be enough. Well, that's not right. Okay. Maybe my count was off by 1. Again, 16 blocks from any block that they could be in. Pro tip, I like to make my super flat worlds with pathway blocks because nothing will spawn on them. Clean up these stragglers and try it again. Up. At least the hoppers are useful in single player. What are you doing up here? Any more? One more try. Oh, wait. You aren't supposed to be able to teleport out of minecarts. How did you... You even... Oh, no, water buttons. This is why buttons are a bad idea. Die so I can put a button here. Good. Really? Just... How many are in there? Alright. You know what? Let's just roll that clip of this thing working the right way. Well, I hope this at least gave you some ideas you can use on your own builds. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave some love in the form of a like, and subscribe if you want to see more of my hive and my redstone ideas. I promise I have some that work much better. See you next time.